We have a very dangerous mission today, ladies and gentlemen, because today I want to make a mob farm. However, we've got a little bit of admin work to do before that, so we're just going to claim a couple quests. All these quests, by the way, are the ones I forgot to claim at the end of last episode. I've not really done too much off-camera work other than mining. And with those quests being claimed, we got one reward which would help us out a ton. And it allows us to ore double, and that is the copper ore hammer. So that netherite we got last time, we can now turn into a netherite ingot. So I've already mentioned I have been mining off camera, and with that mining session happening, I kind of grabbed a couple of obsidian so we can mainly make the nether portal and the enchanting table, and maybe a couple of extra pieces just for any other bits and pieces we might need to make along the way. And we're going to need to go into the nether today with just our leather and chainmail armor to get a couple of blaze rods, but we'll do that a little bit later on. Quite haven't worked up the courage to go yet. So with setting up the portal now, we head on in to literally just claim the quest, so we can claim the quest for the netherite and everything else, and then we dive straight back out. So with that being said, let's claim the last of our quests and start thinking about the items we're going to use to make this mob farm. Now I'm going to make some of the items that I may need. So mob fans, mob masher, the upgrades for the mob fans, upgrades for the mob masher, things like that. One thing I didn't mention to you lot is I actually did do a little bit of exploring as well off camera and found a potential place where we could make our home. And look at this beautiful place. There is so much room for potential here. There's so much potential here. It's whether we can execute it. And conveniently, there is a way up using this waterfall. Now along the way, I found a waystone and I picked that up, and so I don't have to swim up this 1,000 times every episode. I'm simply just going to put a waystone down at the top. With the waystone down, name confirmed, it was on to start building the mob farm. And first thing I did was mine out a 5x5 area on the floor, and in the center of that mined out a cross and laid in a load of redstone with cog blocks, which I will eventually put redstone lamps above the cog blocks, because what they do is transfer the redstone signal vertical instead of just horizontal. And why have I done that? It's just so we can disable the mob farm if we ever need to or want to. And with those things placed in, we can now start putting in the mob fans and getting all the upgrades in the mob fans and things like that, so it pushes it all into the mob masher, which I'm also going to just place down. And I will not be powering this yet because I do not want to die to it. So now with all the redstone and things completed, what we can do now is fill in that 5x5 with a load of dirt. So how does one determine what upgrades to put in the mob fans? Well, easy, simple solution. There is a show area on each of the mob fans. Now, we want the mob fans to be a minimum of 2 blocks tall, so we put in a mob fan height upgrade. That makes them go to 2 blocks tall minimum. Next thing we need to do is determine the width and distance, and we want them both pushing into the mob masher. So the one at the back needs to span 1 block over on each side of the 5x5 dirt, so it'll become a 7x7, if you will. So now it's time for the most dangerous mission that we are probably going to embark on, because we only have leather armor and chainmail, and that is we need to go into the nether. Why? Well, obviously we're going to want some glowstone for our redstone lamps, and we're going to need an absorption hopper, end inhibitor, and just a few other little things like that, but they all require blaze powder, so we need blaze rods. And after about 30 to 40 minutes of searching, after finding spawner after spawner after spawner and them just being zombie pigment or magma cubes, we finally found a fortress with a blaze spawner in it. I marked it on the map so we would never have to search for one again. I sat there for 10 minutes grinding out, getting just a few blaze rods, and once we had done that, we could then come home, and then we could start crafting these said items. Now the most important one is obviously an absorption hopper. What does this do? It collects items within a certain radius on its own. So this will obviously collect all the mob drops to send it then in a chest, but it'll also give XP. So it can also collect the XP and put it in a tank. Now, we don't have XP obelisks in this, unfortunately. So what I'm going to use is a jumbo tank, and they're the exact same as the ones we used back in Stone Block 3. And we can attach, if we ever want to get XP out of it, we can just attach a tap and make it rain on ourselves. Now, one thing I forgot about that you guys shouldn't forget about is the Mob Masher upgrades. And the ideal amount for this is 10 of the luck ones and 10 of the sharpness ones. Now, that is the maximum that you can put in, so you'll get the best outputs, kill the mobs the quickest. In fact, it'll probably one hit 90% of the mobs that are in there, if not all of them. So definitely should be doing that. However, we haven't got enough iron to make 10 sharpness ones, so I just made the 4 for now, and I'll come back to it later on and make the rest. And just before we start all the wiring and the piping and things like that and making sure everything works, I want to get the tinted glass down. Now, you obviously don't have to have tinted glass if you don't really want to. It's just I do, because I know it blocks all the light from the outside world, and it'll also allows me to see in case ever a malfunction or anything like that. I can just visually see anything that happens inside. And also it'll act as like a guide on where I'm going to put the absorption hopper and formulate everything else. So without further ado, I'm going to place in a wall of tinted glass and break one piece above the Mob Masher just for the absorption hopper. Now we're going to need to make an item that might take us a little minute to get, simply because we're going to need to make the XP drain, because we need buckets of XP, and we also need to find a chicken. And the item we're going to make is the cursed chicken feed. And then we're going to go out and find a chicken, feed it to that chicken, it'll give us a rotten egg. Now with that rotten egg, once we get the frame up on this place and everything is in, we can then pop down this rotten egg on this dirt, and it'll make this cursed earth kind of stuff, which will then allow the mobs to spawn. I'm also going to throw an ender inhibitor on the tinted glass. That stops any enderman from TPing away when they get hit by the Mob Masher. And I'm then going to start throwing up the frame. And this is what it looks like now that the frame is in. Now, it's not the prettiest, of course. I just used any wood that was indigenous to the area that we were in. Now, I know I say this all the time. It's not going to stay here. It's definitely going to get moved, and it's going to get moved sooner rather than later, because we might get better mob drops in different biomes. Like, I know there's a cave creeper that can drop emeralds and diamonds upon it being killed. I want that. But now that we have the basic framework in, let's start to pipe everything together. So, piping up, we're going to place a chest down first. This one is a gold chest. It holds a little bit more, and it also has upgrade capabilities down the line. I'm also going to throw a jumbo tank on the side of the pillar, making sure there's a space in between the absorption hopper and the tank so I can put a pipe in. And then I'm just going to throw some universal pipes, one going to the chest and one going to the tank. Make sure I set the absorption hopper correctly so items are coming out in the correct pipe and going into the chest, and fluids are going into the correct pipe going into the tank. And then I'm going to put a trash bin down next to the chest, making sure I leave one space again for a pipe. This time we're going to put an advanced pipe upgrade in there, because this allows us to filter out any items that we might not want. And obviously, make sure when you're happy with what you've got set up, you'll want to throw a rotten egg on the center dirt, and it will change that whole 5x5 dirt into cursed earth. Block it up, things will start spawning, and bish bash bosh, you're getting your mob drops. Now, when it comes to filtering any items you might not want, sometimes you'll get some armor, or sometimes you'll get sword, shovel, axe, whatever, anything that might have durability. All you want to do when it comes to this is make sure the MBT data is cleared and empty. Click save, and it will get rid of absolutely anything, no matter whether it's been used or it's fresh or it's named something else because of apotheosis. Just make sure you get rid of that MBT data. And just like that, ladies and gents, you've gone and got yourself a mob farm. If you are new around here and you want to see some more of this, make sure to subscribe and obviously smash the like button. It'll tell me that you guys are absolutely enjoying it. Again, don't forget to tell me what mod I should get into down in the comments below, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Goodbye.